Just to let you know, this review contains some spoilers, so if you haven't watched the movie yet, click away please. Thank you. Okay, so I'm sure you're all wondering what I thought of Saw 5, being the huge Saw fan that I am. Well, I saw it recently and I have to say, it was disappointing. The movie, yet again, followed somebody going through a series of tests while there was another thing going on, except this time, it was a group of 5 people as opposed to one person, and with one person died during each test, and Detective Peter Strahm investigated Detective Hoffman, trying to figure out if he was Jigsaw's new apprentice. Now, wasn't it already revealed in Saw 4 that Hoffman was Jigsaw's new apprentice? I don't know, I guess he was trying to find more evidence or something. Now, I have to say that while I was immediately turned off by the idea that Scott Patterson, who was a star in a show called Gilmore Girls, was going to be in a Saw movie, I was actually quite fond of his performance in Saw 5. In Saw 4, I didn't really care much for Patterson. His role wasn't as big in Saw 4 as it was in Saw 5. It sucks because just as I was beginning to really like his work as Peter Strahm, he was killed off suddenly, and in a really harsh manner. Now, Strahm didn't take Jigsaw's advice of going into the box at the end of the movie, and instead shoved his nemesis, Detective Hoffman, into the box, not realizing that what he had just done would end up costing him his life. The walls began to close in on him like an Indiana Jones movie, as the box containing Hoffman was safely lowered into the ground, therefore protecting the man in the box, in this case Hoffman, from the trap. Did I like this ending? Well, in a way, yeah, I did. I will admit, though, that I do think it was a bit extreme for a Saw film, but at the same time it kicks Saw 4's ass. Strahm getting crushed by the walls is 9,000 times better than Matthew's head being crushed by gigantic ice cubes. And yes, that was a reference to the popular DBZ over 9,000 thing. I just thought that was lame. Unfortunately, it didn't show a whole lot of Strahm getting crushed by the walls, just his blood spilling into Hoffman's box while Hoffman, that sick dirty fuck, looking on in approval. Another thing is that the box Jigsaw gave to Jill remains a mystery. Now, unless I'm mistaken, the contents of the box were not revealed, leaving us something to look forward to in the next installment of the Saw franchise, which will be directed by the editor in all the Saw films to date, Kevin Greutert. Why the hell are they constantly changing the directors? First it was James Wan, then it was Darren Lynn Bousman, then it was David Hackle for Saw 5. Why is the director always changing? Is there a reason for this? Somebody please tell me if there is a reason for this, because I'm confused as hell about it. Anyway, what did I think of the characters in the trap? Well, there was Malik, Charles, Ashley, Britt, and Luba. To be honest, I wasn't at all impressed by them. Well, actually, that's not true. I liked Charles, the guy played by Carlo Rota, a little bit. He was the only one who really had any dimension to his character. He was suspicious to me the whole time. He was so calm and collected while everybody else was freaking out, and he seemed to know more about the characters than they thought. Other than that, I didn't care about the characters. I had no reason to. They were all more or less the same, unlike in Saw 2, where each character in the house had their own personality. Now, one of the things that Saw fans look forward to the most when the new movies are released are the traps. After all, there can't be a Saw movie without the infamous traps, right? So, what was my favorite trap? Easy. The very first trap we witnessed in the movie, the pendulum trap with Seth, who murdered Hoffman's sister. The objective of the trap was to have Seth crush his own hands in order to free him from the table he was on before the razor sliced him in half from the abdomen. Brutal shit, but I like it. In the end, he does indeed crush his hands, but the trap still keeps on going. It was very Amanda-like in that the trap was unescapable. I mean, sure, you can do whatever you're supposed to do in order to escape from the trap, but in the end, it didn't mean jack shit, since even if you did do what you were supposed to do, like Carrie getting the key from the acid in her trap or Troy ripping out the chains from his body, you couldn't escape, even if you wanted to. It also showed more than I thought it would. I thought the camera would just stay on Seth's face as the razor sliced him open, but it actually showed the razor slicing away at him kind of a lot, so that's cool stuff. It was also pretty cool seeing how Hoffman was blackmailed into joining Jigsaw on his quest to rehab people from their perilous lifestyle and make them appreciate their lives more. It was cool seeing Hoffman and Jigsaw kidnapping Paul, who was the only guy who, when being kidnapped, actually put up a fight. It was a failing effort, but it was cool seeing him get kidnapped by Hoffman and Jigsaw. It was also cool seeing Hoffman dragging Opie into the Saw house, revealing he was the one who got them there. Overall, I thought Saw 5 was pretty disappointing. I mean, sure, it was cool seeing how the story tied up some loose ends from the previous Saw movies, but it was still the same formula from the past 2 movies, Saw 3 and Saw 4. I can only take so much of the same basic formula before it starts to really bore me, and now it's actually turning me away from the series that I once loved. I loved this first Saw movie. I loved it. I even have it on my iPod. Yes, the whole first movie, Saw, is on my iPod. I also thought Saw 2 was great, but then it just started to go downhill with Saw 3, because that's when the repetitive formula began, with Jeff going through a series of tests in order to get revenge on Timothy Young, the man who killed his son in a hit-and-run accident. Then in Saw 4, it was Rig going through a series of tests, and now in Saw 5, it was Charles, Malik, Luba, Britt, and Ashley. the fuck are the names of those? Sure, they made it a group going through tests instead of one person, but it's still pretty much the same thing. I loved the first Saw, loved the second Saw. I did not like Saw 3, 4, or 5. Am I giving up on the Saw series? I don't know. Maybe.